Alright then. Hey everybody. Now, I swear, this is the final part to case number 5. So we'll be wrapping up this part of Phoenix Wright tonight. And then probably give it a, I decided that, every once in a while, depending on if there's like a dry spell, or I feel like there's like little like maybe like one game I'm doing like a walkthrough for, and I need something extra, I might hop back into Phoenix Wright just to not pad it out, but just give like just an extra more to the content. So anyway, I'm just gonna hop right into it. Hope everybody's doing well. And once again, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff to Talkative Carl on Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. Sorry, Edgeworth. I didn't mean to get you in trouble. Don't worry about it. This is my problem, not yours. This is my problem, not yours. Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later. Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? You got a lot of nerve, pal, making a detective run all around while on duty. And to top it all off, you called me here. I've seen happier people at funerals. I take it Lana's having you run errands again? Let me tell you, this is the last time, pal. Here, she asked me to give this to you if there was a break in today's trial. Evidence law. Edgeworth was talking about this just the other day. The chief prosecutor also wanted me to give you a message. A message? She said, if you're planning to take him on, you're going to need this book. Him. I guess I'll need to give this book a thorough read. I wonder if she means him from the Powerpuff Girls. Doesn't look like that. Doesn't look like that book will do you any good now, though. All that's left now is the chief prosecutor's sentence. That's where you're wrong, detective. Huh? Haven't you figured it out yet? Why I'm still sitting in that prosecutor's seat? Despite all these allegations being thrown at me? Mr. Edgeworth, the real trial today hasn't begun yet. What else is there left to do? Your credibility's been all but ruined with this forged evidence you were unaware of. Emma Skye found out she's unwittingly caused a man's death. And now, you're telling me you want to do more? You gotta be kidding me, pal. You're missing the point, detective. Lana didn't murder Detective Goodman. She merely stuck a knife into his dead body. That means the real killer is still out there. What? We're going to expose him, no matter what it takes. This case has hurt too many people. It's time to bring it to the end. Court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. Mr. Edgeworth. Yes, Your Honor. The inquiry committee is planning to impose harsh penalties for your actions. Thank you for the news, Your Honor. Yes, well, Normally, this is where the prosecution calls forth a witness, but this isn't easy to say. You see, there is some concern that you, Mr. Edgeworth, may have struck a bargain. You think I may have manipulated the witnesses? I didn't say that. It's just, you see, everyone has been talking and... Very well, Your Honor. I have a solution. A solution? That being the case, the prosecution will allow the defense to call forth all further witnesses. What? But there's no precedent for what you're proposing. Undeniably, this is an unusual arrangement, but a very effective one. It would prove that I haven't struck any deals with the witnesses. Well, Mr. Wright, what do you say? Unbelievable. Edgeworth has found a way to continue the trial. Very well, the defense accepts the prosecution's proposal. Then it's settled. The defense may now call forth the next witness. Mr. Wright? You do realize this is your last chance. If you call the wrong witness, this trial is good as over. Defense calls... The time's finally come to bring out the real murderer. Obviously, this guy. This guy's one cocky piece of crap. Damon Gant. The defense calls Damon Gant to the stand. Damon Gant? What does he have to do with anything? As the defendant's partner 2 years ago, Mr. Gant has first-hand knowledge of the crime. I feel we should hear what he has to say about it. As luck would have it, he should still be in the courthouse. He would also be the least likely to have been manipulated by me in any way. Wouldn't you agree, Your Honor? True. All right, bailiff, please escort Mr. Gant to the stand. Witness, please state your name and occupation. What is this? What is this, some kind of practical joke? I was just on my way to lunch. Your name and occupation, sir. Worthy, are you sure you want to do this? Your name and occupation. So, you want to play hardball, huh? Please, Mr. Gant. Fine. My name is Damon Gant. I'm the acting chief of police. Now then, Chief Gant, the court requests to hear your testimony. Oh, righto. What's with the grim face? First, let's clear up this SO9 incident. Oh, you mean that time when Lana's sister murdered that prosecutor? Personally, I think it's been made pretty clear already. There are still some things unaccounted for. Oh, like what? Like the role you played in all this. Son, either you're very brave or very foolish. You are aware, of course, that a police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons? Sure. Take my testimony, for example. I don't have to give it if I don't want to. What? Is that true? I'm afraid so. The chief of police has the right to refuse to testify. Of course, such an action carries with it certain risk. Don't worry. I'm not here to hinder your trial. Just remember, if this turns out to be a big waste of time, don't say I didn't warn you. Very well. The witness may now begin his testimony. As I recall, Neil and I were questioning him that day. To make a long story short, we slipped up. That power outage didn't help either. When I went to my office, I found Lana there. Apparently, she had already arranged the crime scene. As you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery. Is that when Dark was arrested? Him? He was lying on the floor unconscious. When Emma sent Neo flying, it seems Dark bumped his head. I see. Everything seems pretty clear-cut. If the police chief has the right to refuse to testify, then I better hit him hard and fast. As I recall, a ceremony was held at the police department that day. Yes, that's right. I guess you could say I'm a workaholic. After winning his award, Neo was all fired up too. That's probably what spooked Dark and made him run away like that. Was the defendant Lana Sky also present in the room? I don't quite remember. At the very least, she wasn't there when Dark ran for it. So the two of you ran immediately after him, right? That's right, but Dark made it to the elevator first. So Neil and I split up. He went upstairs and I went downstairs. I guess you can say he got lucky. What's this about a power outage? Oh, that. The elevator stopped all of a sudden and I got the shock of my life. Well, probably not as shocked as Neil was when that knife went into his heart, though. That's not funny. Yeah, that was pretty, morbid, man. It's not even close to funny. Could you tell us what you saw? It was a shocking sight. Neil and that serial killer were lying in a heap on the floor, all tangled together. Dark was also lying collapsed on the floor. Dark was also lying collapsed on the floor? Yes, apparently he hit his head and was knocked out. Next to them were those two poor girls, Lana and Emma. Lana was cradling Emma in her arms. Looking back at it now, she must have already known what her sister had done. How can you know that? Because of the victim's body, it had already been moved. So that means you found the body near Lana's desk. That's right. I think you said earlier it was my suit of armor that really stabbed the prosecutor. Yes. Anyway. So you're saying that the forgery had already taken place by the time you arrived at your office? That's exactly what I'm saying. I can understand how Lana must have felt, but moving a body and hiding evidence are excusable no matter what the circumstances. Is that how it really went down? Staring at the witness won't do you any good, Mr. Wright. If you're going to stare at anything, better off staring at that court record. Worthy, always the smooth talker. But which piece of evidence ties again to the forgery? Lana did admit to forging evidence, but that can't be the whole truth. Somehow I got to link into the incident.
Objection!
You claim you had nothing to do with the forgery. But I'm afraid that is a claim you cannot back up. Explain yourself. Several pieces of evidence were found in your office. Take this list, for example. That's the list Emma Sky drew her picture on. This was discovered in your desk. Not only that, but a piece of this jar that was sitting in your office was found inside your safe. It was found where? You see, Chief Gann, these articles of evidence uncovered in your office are both concrete proof that you also play a part in the illegal investigation. Why would he, like a chief of police, be stupid enough to hide something like that that can link him to something that damning? So just he had 2 years to destroy all that, burn to a crisp, eradicated from the face of the earth. God, criminals are so dumb. I mean, like, I think Dex is probably like the smartest, criminal that I've seen in pop culture. Chief Gann, what's the meaning of this? Oh, here's a defense attorney who may even rival Worthy. So you admit to it then, that you were involved in the forgery? Who, me? Or do you mean you? Me? Why would I have anything to do with that? Well, you were the one who snuck into my office when you found this evidence. Prosecutors aren't the only ones capable of forging evidence, you know. Defense attorneys can do so too. Isn't that right, Wright?
Objection!
However, Detective Gumshoe was present during the investigation. Worthy, my boy. Not even detectives are exempt from the law. Rest assured, Jacob will receive his due punishment. What? If Detective Gumshoe's salary drops any further, he'll end up paying to work. Yes, well, in light of the detective's presence, please give us your testimony regarding these pieces of evidence found in your office and their relations to the forgery that took place at the crime scene. My. Kids these days no longer know how to put two and two together. Let's see, what was it now? A jar fragment and a list. For all I know, you could have planted them in my office. Anyway, you can't prove when those pieces of evidence were discovered. If they were found after Dark was convicted, then they're worthless. There's no reason I participate in a forgery. Rearranging the crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way. Mr. Wright? Yes, Your Honor? When investigating the crime scene, you should have been more careful to observe protocol. You do understand that I am the chief of police, right? There will be consequences. Oh, indeed, I believe I will press charges, so you won't make the same mistake again. My apologies, Chief, but would you mind waiting until tomorrow for that? Today is, well, you know. All right, Uji. In return, though, I know. That place, right? Huh? Why are these guys telepathic? I appreciate it if you stop making these ridiculous allegations. Yes, you do have a point. You wouldn't have the guts to do something like that. What? Have you know, back in the day, I once broke into my cattle ranch and said, Mr. Wright, what are you saying? Anyway, you can't prove you didn't carry in the evidence, can you? If you have proof to the contrary, you're going to need it later. Later? What are you talking about? What else? I'm talking about when Wright's prints are found. Yes, they're found inside my safe. They will prove his investigation was illegal. Never facing one as slimy as this guy. What do you mean by that? This is all purely hypothetical, of course. But suppose I did place those items in my safe. Such an act wouldn't necessarily constitute forgery.
Objection!
If concealing evidence found at a crime scene isn't forgery, I'm not through speaking yet, Righto. It all depends on when the evidence was discovered. Are you saying this jar fragment wasn't discovered in the initial investigation? It would appear not. After all, it wasn't listed in the evidence list. For all we know, it could have suddenly materialized the day after Dark was sentenced.
Objection!
Oh, and wouldn't that be convenient? Right? The chief is talking about possibility, so long as you can't rule that out. The remarks, however clever they may be, will only succeed in wasting time. Tell me something I don't know. Come now, Righto. Think about it.
Hold it!
How can you look me in the eye and say that? Because I'm innocent. Remember? Who was it that murdered Mia? I'm not sure I care for the word murder here, but in the end, the person responsible for Mr. Marshall's unfortunate demise was Emma Scott. Well, now do you see?
Hold it!
Really, Chief Gann. At the very least, there is one very large benefit you've reaped from all this. Oh, I wasn't aware. What is this benefit? That would, of course, be the position you have, Chief of Police. Oh, the resolution of the SL9 incident secured your promotion to Chief. That in itself is sufficient motive. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Oh, that's a good one. Huh? And you really think I'm that incompetent? What do you mean? Even without that case, I was already in line to become the next chief. The resolution of the SL9 merely sped up the inevitable little. The resolution of the SL9 merely sped up the inevitable a little. Is that true, Edgeworth? Yes, it was going to be made chief anyway. Gah, be careful when you're pointing that finger, or you might wind up being the one pointing it. So that means there's only one possible motivation for you to commit forgery. If you didn't do it for yourself, then you did it for someone else. Don't be silly, Worthy. You know me better than that. There are only 3 people I look out for. Me, myself, and I. There, it's out in the open now. Yuji, would you mind if I change my testimony a little? By all means, please do. I wouldn't be anyone's accomplice if there was nothing in it for me.
Hold it!
Nothing in it for you. Sorry, but the only person I care about is yours truly. That girl, Lana's little sister, was it? If you think I felt sorry for her, you better think again. You're right. You don't feel sorry for anyone. Be tough on crime and tough on people. That's how I was raised. You seem to be lax enough on yourself, though. Oh, that's a good one, Worthy. Could there have been something in it for him? Given his selfishness, would he have helped someone out? True, you might not have helped out anyone for their sake, but it would benefit you. You might decide to assist someone. Mr. Wright, it appears you're possibly determined to betray the chief. As a nice man who likes to lend people a hand. That's not what I mean. Very well then. Who is this person you believe Chief Gant may have helped forge evidence?
Take that!
Chief Prosecutor Lana Sky, the defendant? I believe it's quite obvious in the light of the circumstances. Emma Sky fell victim to an unfortunate series of events, but would want to help her more than her own sister, Lana. And as for Chief Gant, he would also have a reason to help Lana if she asked him to. That reason, of course, is self-profit. Self-profit? What do you mean? After the SO9 incident was resolved, Lana Sky was appointed chief prosecutor at the prosecutor's office. The person who arranged this job change was you, Chief Gant. But how would he profit from all of this? He would be able to use the chief prosecutor as his puppet. Essentially, he would acquire unchecked authority over all investigations. You need to tell me that despite the chief's formidable appearance, he plays with puppets? You're a dumbass. Oh wait, you must mean puppet as in someone forced to do his bidding. Never mind. A minute, Chief. You assisted Lana Sky in forging evidence. Your motive to appoint her as chief prosecutor so you could control her. Right, my boy. You have quite an imagination. Let me ask you something. What? Do you have any proof of this? That I controlled Lana? For example, is Lana testifying that I've done such a thing? Lana. She's keeping quiet to protect Emma. There's no way she'd testify against Gant. I'm afraid without any proof, this all amounts to nothing more than mere conjecture. Unless that is also what happened in this incident. This incident? Which one would that be? Of course, I'm talking about the murder of Detective Bruce Goodman. The chief prosecutor has been acting strange throughout this entire trial. Almost as if someone has been controlling her. Worthy, you better watch your tongue. I wouldn't want you to get hurt. What do you mean? What he means, Your Honor, is that Chief Gant is involved in the murder of Detective Goodman. Not only that, but the chief is now making Lana take the rap to cover up his involvement. What? Order in the court. Objection overruled. Mr. Wright, you can't be serious. Huh? This is an affront to the highest ranking officer in our law enforcement agency. To accuse the chief of police of blackmail and murder. impossible. Your Honor, I was merely reiterating what Mr. Ezra said in easier to understand language. It's too late, Mr. Wright. There's no turning back for us now. Looks like he's the one who's decided to go through with this. You can prove this, Mr. Wright? That the chief high-ranking officer of the law is involved in this murder? The question. Regardless of his rank or title, Chief Gant is just a man. The question is he a criminal? I believe the evidence will tell. I see. Alright then. Let's see what Mr. Wright's got, and it better be good. Show us this evidence that ties Chief Gant to the murder of Detective Goodman. This is the ID card list. Yes, the one that shows who entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. There was one ID on the list we couldn't determine the owner of yesterday. 7 sevens. Sorry, but there's no way you can prove that's my card number. It's your number. What? How do you know that? The safe in Chief Gant's office requires a code to open. A 7-digit code. 7 digits? You don't mean... I'm afraid so, Your Honor. The code was 7 sevens. The same as the remaining ID card number on that list. Chief Gant, you entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. Order! Chief Gant, what do you have to say? Nothing. The defense search of my office was in violation of regulations. And I will demand Mr. Wright be punished to the maximum extent of the law. But right now, this court demands an explanation from you about the use of this ID card. Chief Gant, so do you admit it? You entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. What about it? I'm chief of police. Whether it's the evidence room or the bathroom, what's the difference? I can go anywhere I want. Tell me, when you entered the room, were you alone? I always go to the bathroom alone. Let's do it with the evidence room. Detective Goodman wouldn't have happened to be with you that day, would he? Of course not. Why would he be? I hadn't seen him in days.
Objection!
You hadn't seen him in days, Chief Gant? I'm afraid you just undone yourself. On that day, you had to have met with Detective Goodman. What do you mean? This trial proposes the determined Lawrence Sky's guilt.
Objection!
No, it isn't, Your Honor. This trial's purpose is to determine the truth. I'm loving this right now, but just, these two were rivals, or kind of still rivals, but effectively, they respect the law so much despite, one being a prosecutor and the other a defense attorney. They know, we're gonna find this guilty person, and they teaming up. It's like watching Yugi and Kaiba or Vegeta and Goku just team up. It's like, no, we're doing this, because we're backing each other up because we're gonna find the truth. Because like F this at this point, this dude's a fucking creep. If Chief Gant met the victim on the day of the crime, then we need to determine one thing. What transpired during the meeting? In that case, Mr. Wright, we're going to have to ask you for evidence. Show us proof that the victim went to Chief Gant on the day of the crime. I'm loving this. I'm loving every bit about this right now. Detective Goodman lost his ID card on the day of the crime. Or to be more accurate, Jake Marshall stole it. So Detective Goodman filled out a list of, filled out a lost item report. He would have to give that report to Chief of Police. Yet you are in possession of the report, which means you can't be sure if he filed it. He filed it. How do I know, you ask? Because he needed to enter the evidence room that day. He needed to? Yes, to transfer the evidence out. Oh. Detective Goodman took the form to you, Chief Gant. Then, you accompanied the detective to the evidence room. I accompanied him? There's no other way to murder and Detective Goodman could have. There's no other way the murderer and Detective Goodman could have entered the room. Hold on. Let me guess what you're going to say next. I, the Chief of Police, murder poor Goodman. Exactly. But wait, Chief didn't necessarily need to accompany him to the evidence room. He could have just lent him his ID card. Yes. Now that you mention it, I believe I might have done something of the sort.
Objection!
This is why the judge need to keep quiet sometimes, because it's like, you having this guy some like plausible deniability. Sorry, but that's not possible. According to the record, your card was only used once. Yeah, you showed us your ID card earlier. If you had really lent it to Detective Goodman, it would have been found on his body. No! That animation is probably like the best animation in the entire game so far. Chief Gant, you didn't! The murder was most likely a spur-of-the-moment crime for no one in their right mind would choose the police department as a place to commit murder. After the murder, you contacted Lana at the prosecutor's office. Why? To dispose of Detective Goodman's body, of course.
Objection!
You're forgetting, Mr. Wright, that the victim's body was discovered in the prosecutor's office parking lot. How did he manage to move it there? I was at the police department the entire day, you know. And everyone's aware that Lana stayed at the prosecutor's office after the ceremony. Everyone except me, it seems. Still, you're the chief of police. You have an entire police force at your disposal. Oh, so you think I just ordered an officer to do it? Hey you, take this here dead body over to the prosecutor's office. I don't think so. Chief Gant, you left all the evidence we need to prove how you moved the body to the prosecutor's office. And all this time I thought it was a useless clue just taking up space. How could the chief have moved the body? Mr. Wright, show us this evidence. To move the victim's body, Chief Gant has to use this. 1 second.
Take that!
This is how he moved Detective Goodman's body. What's that? A screwdriver? But what does this have to do with this case? Mr. Edgeworth, think back to the day of the crime. What is this screwdriver doing here? It's here because... I was asked to go by Chief Gant, no less. He told me he wanted me to keep it here in the prosecutor's office. In any case, on the day of the stabbings, I brought this back here. After the ceremony ended that day, I didn't plan to return to the prosecutor's office. But you did, because Chief Gant asked you to. You mean The body was found in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. I think it's obvious what happened. The body was moved by that car. Detective Goodman's body was carried in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. Yes, unless of course you have another explanation, Chief. Why else would you have asked Mr. Edgeworth to transfer evidence from a closed case? There's only one plausible explanation. To transfer the body to your accomplice, Miss Lana Skye. What's going on here? Is there no room for rebuttal to the defense's outrageous accusations? Think back to the photograph Miss Starr took at the prosecutor's office. This was not a photo of the body being stuffed in the trunk to be taken away. It was exactly the opposite. It is a photo of the body being taken from the trunk. Chief Gant, please say something. I believe your time is up. My time's up. Sorry, Rachel, but I'm having lunch with the District Attorney General after this. We have to get going if we're to make it in time for the early bird special.
Objection!
But the cross-examination isn't finished yet. Remember what I told you earlier. The police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons like the right to refuse to testify. I'm invoking that right now. What? That is not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered.
Objection!
So you're going to just run away after all this? Run away? Don't make me laugh, Worthy. I stabbed old Goodman. That's what you're saying, right? But if you had any conclusive evidence, you would have presented it by now. Well, you think I had Lana dispose of the body? If so, then show your proof and get it over with. I'll say it again, Mr. Wright. Demon Gant is the current chief of police. This court will not tolerate any accusations against him without concrete proof. Well, Mr. Wright, Your Honor, do you have any concrete proof? Proof that Chief Gant murdered Detective Goodman and made Miss Skye dispose of his body? You have concrete proof. I should have concrete proof. Do I have concrete proof? Concrete proof? Concrete proof. Do I have concrete? I think, I'm looking at the videos of other people because you don't want to choose like the wrong thing. And I hate when I played Phoenix Wright on like a handheld many years ago. I keep choosing the wrong thing when I think it's right. So I want to make sure that I got something, but looks like no, I do not have any for you. There's no use showing evidence. I'm not even sure myself. No, Your Honor. At present, I have no conclusive evidence. See, Uji? In that case, this court is forced to penalize you for allegations against the chief. What? Here's a tip. Never gamble what you can't afford to lose, Righto. Seems that the luck was on my side again today. Okay, Uji, I'll leave the rest to you. I warned you earlier, Mr. Wright. This is an affront to a senior officer in the nation's law enforcement agency. What?
Objection!
Lady Luck? Maybe we should have a word with her. Mr. Edgeworth, what do you mean? There's one lady who knows the real truth behind this trial. We haven't yet had the honor of hearing her testimony. A lady who knows the truth. Another witness? In the absence of conclusive evidence, the only other method of proof is testimony. But Chief Gann has invoked his right to refuse to testify. There's still someone else. One more witness who can answer all the questions raised in this trial. Someone right in this very room. Mr. Edgeworth, who is this person? Honest guy. Why are you asking me, Your Honor? Have you forgotten? The defense is the one calling witnesses today. Mr. Wright, does such a witness exist? You may not be willing to tell the truth, but we can't just stop now. Yes, Your Honor. Defense calls forth.
Take that!
The chief defendant. The defendant, Miss Lana Sky. She was in the underground parking lot at 5:15 on February 21st. Her task to dispose of the victim's body. In accordance with a certain someone's orders. Mr. Edgeworth? The prosecution has no objections, Your Honor. Very well. The court will now take its final recess for the day. In 15 minutes, we will reconvene to hear the defendant's testimony. This court is now in... Hold on. Huh? Chief Gann, I thought you were going to eat. Listen good, Lana. He's talking to Lana? I don't think you need me to tell you this, but if you accept Mr. Wright's claims, there will be terrible consequences. That's right. Your sister will be found guilty for Neil Marshall's murder. This isn't good. Of course, you never support such an outrageous claim anyway, right? Just something to think about. Alright then. I got a lunch date to meet. You just sitting there just threatening a witness and y'all just letting it happen? Nobody's gonna raise an objection? It's clearly like he was threatening a witness. This is against the law. He doing it right in front of the judge and lawyers. What the hell? Okay, if there aren't any further objections, this court is now in recess. He just freaking threatening somebody and y'all just letting it happen. Looks like we managed to stay in again. Yeah, thanks to your help, Edgeworth. That chief, he's something else, huh, pal? Detective Gumshoe. I'm not a detective anymore. Oh yeah, sorry about that. Don't worry, I've already decided where to work now. At your office. My office? Sure. I'll take the place of that top-knotted girl you used to work with. Okay, you mean Maya? Still, looks like we're all out of moves now. Chief Gann's done it again. How is it he always gets the upper hand? It's not fair he has the right to refuse to testify. Settle down, Wright. Remember what the judge said. Risk. What do you mean by that? It's simple. If the chief refuses to testify, the opposite also holds true. You mean he forfeits his right to say anything too? Emma, are you okay? Yeah, when I came to, I was in the medical office. I've been listening to the trial from the gallery, so she heard everything that's been going on. Emma, I'm sorry for what I said before. No, don't be. It was the truth. You know, it's funny. I almost feel somehow relieved. Relieved? Yeah, now I finally know what really happened. To think that all this time, my sister was being blackmailed by that terrible man. And she did it all just to protect me. Ever since her appointment as chief prosecutor, everyone who knew her says she changed. Perhaps it was easier that way for her. What do you mean? What do you think I mean? To follow Chief Gant's orders. She must have shut herself up deep inside, to force herself to do anything and everything the chief told her to do. That must be why she became so cold. It was all my fault. It's all because I murdered Mr. Marshall. Hey, don't go blaming yourself now. If you want to blame anyone, blame society, pal. Chief Gant may be able to fool everyone else with his forgery, but he can't fool my memory. I remember now. I knocked Mr. Marshall into that armor. I see. Well, we better get back. It's time for the final act. Emma, why don't you wait? No, I'm going with you. I want to be there when Lana tells the truth. Let's go, Wright. It's time to end this. Doom, 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 do 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 do. Yes. So there's progress. I'll finally, get this wrapped up. I can't believe how many videos it took just to wrap this up. The previous cases didn't take this long. At least 5-6 videos at the most. And we're on our 8th. We're on our 8th video. Let me check my phone. Sorry, the phone was charging, so. Now then, will the defendant, Ms. Lana Skye, please take the stand? Ms. Lana Skye, you are the chief prosecutor. I'm sure you're aware of what is required of you. But Mr. Edgeworth, you already know everything. You know all that I've done these past 2 years. Please provide the court with your testimony, Miss Skye. And remember, you are under oath. We want to hear the truth. Of course, the truth. Lana, no matter what happens, I'll always be your sister. Now then, your testimony, if you will. First, tell us about your relationship with Chief Gant. Everything hinges on your testimony. You're the only chance we have to get Gant. I worked alongside Gant for years. There's no truth to his blackmail theory. I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago all by myself. When I found Prosecutor Marshall's body, I rearranged the crime scene. My only motivation was to get Dark convicted. It had nothing to do with Emma. Are you sure about this testimony? Your Honor, I'm confessing to a capital offense. Of course I'm sure. But Lana, if this is true, then that means Chief Gann has nothing to do with this. That's what I've been telling you from the beginning. Please, Mr. Wright, you've got to help her. She's sacrificing herself because of me. What if she's telling the truth? She's not. I know my own sister. Whenever she speaks stiffly like that, she's hiding something inside. Deep down, she's really screaming in agony. Yeah, this is no time to start second-guessing myself. The defense may now begin its cross-examination.
Hold it!
How many years exactly? Ever since I made senior detective. Let's see, I was 24 then, so that would be 5 years. Detective Gann and Detective Sky were legendary partners. I personally saw them testify in numerous cases. She must have been good, coming from the same school as Mia. Damon Gann was a respectable detective. That's why.
Hold it!
But think about it, Miss Sky. You didn't murder Detective Goodman. You told me as much yesterday in jail. You still don't get it, do you, Mr. Wright? Any testimony you cannot present in court is as useless as idle gossip. I stabbed Detective Goodman with a knife. And
Hold it!
did you do so to help your sister? Joe Dark was a serial killer. My sister almost became his last victim that day. I didn't want that incident to ruin her life. But what she did was justifiable self-defense. She wouldn't have been charged with anything. That's not the point. She was traumatized that day, all because of that creep. That's why I couldn't forgive him. Lana, that's why you fabricated the evidence 2 years ago. You say you did this all by yourself? Yes. Would you mind telling us what you found when you arrived at the crime scene? It seems I was the first person to discover the scene. The broken prosecutor award knife was stuck in the victim's body. What? But Prosecutor Marshall died from an unfortunate accident. That's only a situation you dreamed was possible. The reality is, it wasn't my sister who took the prosecutor's life. Fantasize all you want, Mr. Wright, but I'll never change this statement. You mean Prosecutor Marshall wound up being killed by Dark? Something like that. If that is so, what happened to the other murder weapon? Dark was carrying a switchblade knife. Oh, that was lying on the floor a little distance away. It was probably knocked away in the struggle. That's not how it went down. She's trying to cover up her lies with more lies. All just to protect me. So when you found the scene like this, what did you do? After all, this is what everything boils down to. Yes. You planted the tip of Dark's knife in the victim's body, then you moved the body. But why? Why would you do that? You of all people should know, Edgeworth. You've always had a good head on your shoulders. My head isn't that bad, but maybe I ought to ask for the sake of the others. When you showed up on the scene, where exactly was the victim's body? It was where you deduced it was, by Chief Gann's desk. But the body was found by your desk. Why did you move it there? The reason for that is simple. Let's have the witness explain this in more detail. The reason Miss Sky moved the body.
Hold it!
Pieces of the jar? You mean... Yes, that wretched jar you showed us earlier. Excuse me. In order to show that Dark committed the crime, I felt it would be more expedient to move the body. So, when you first found the body, the jar was already... Of course, it had been shattered to pieces. If you looked at the crime scene, it would be clear right away what happened. Neil Marshall was dead, and Dark was lying unconscious. In other words, the jar must have been broken during their struggle. I see. What's the matter, Emma? Apparently the jar shattered at the time the crime was committed. But I have a feeling there is more to it than that. There must be a contradiction here somewhere. Anyway, I committed this fabrication completely alone. So you rearranged the crime scene. Are you sure you didn't do this to keep Emma from looking like the murderer? How many times do I have to tell you, Mr. Wright? Emma didn't do it. Period. Are you so desperate to hide that fact? You're willing to risk the death sentence? You're willing to risk the death sentence? She's lying. She did it so I wouldn't be blamed for what happened. In any case, as a prosecutor, what I've done is unpardonable. There's nothing I can do to make up for my actions. Mr. Wright, my sister's lying. Looks like she's determined to protect you to the end. She insists she fabricated the evidence by herself. There's no way she could have done it alone. I've got to get Lana to talk more. If she's lying, then she's bound to slip up and make a contradiction. Miss Guy, I understand how you feel. You committed that crime 2 years ago to protect your sister. You mean the forgery at the scene where Neil Marshall was murdered? If that truth were to be exposed now, the past 2 years of your life will have been in vain. Even so, I am compelled to bring to everyone's attention a significant contradiction within your testimony. A contradiction? In my testimony? You testified, and I quote, "The pieces of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan." That's right. Do you have a problem with that? It's a simple oversight, really. You see, a message was written on the jar with the victim's blood. Yes, the prosecutor must have written it in his final moments. Exactly so. And this is where the contradiction lies. In order for the victim to be able to write his message on the jar, you must not yet have been broken before. No, it must not yet have been It must not yet have been broken before he died. Ah. He couldn't have written Emma's name on a shattered jar. Your Honor, it would appear more information is needed in regard to this jar and its bloody message. We may have been missing something critical here. Something critical? Chief Prosecutor, it seems you're as in the dark as we are about the truth towards which we're headed. About the truth towards which we're headed. What? Just tell us exactly what you saw. We'll piece together the information to arrive at the truth. Very well. The witness may now continue her testimony. I immediately noticed the blood traces on the jar, but it was dark in the room and I didn't have time to check it out. To be safe, I wiped away the blood. The fragments were large, so I'm sure I got them all. All I could think about was wiping them clean before they were discovered. You mean you were the one who wiped away the messes and blood? I wasn't chief prosecutor at the time. She didn't think Dark was the real murderer? That's why she tried to erase the real evidence. Very well. The defense may now begin its cross-examination. So the jar was already broken. It's a miracle that thing hadn't broken earlier. It certainly looks as feeble as the defense's case, and not as feeble as the judge's judgment. You are an ace detective who never missed a detail. Do you really expect us to believe you didn't investigate what was written on the jar pieces? Normally I would have. So you didn't know your sister's name was written on the jar? No. If I had known, I would have gathered all the pieces and ground them to a dust. Well, that helps my case. Anna, you do that for me? It seems you two might make up yet. Anyway, I just barely had enough time to move the body as it was. If someone happened upon the scene, you'd lose your chance to erase the evidence. You must have been in a hurry. I was. I knew I had to destroy the evidence before anyone came. This is rather shocking. I'm afraid this action of yours reveals what really happened. What do you mean? If you really thought Dark killed Prosecutor Marshall, you wouldn't have wiped away the blood. What else could I have done in that situation? Only had a few moments. There wasn't enough time for me to do anything else but gather up the pieces. But how could you see with the power out? It should have been pitch black in that office. A detective is always prepared, Mr. Wright. Even now, I always carry a pocket light and a camera with me. Oh, that's very convenient. Even I carry a bottle of emergency luminol wherever I go. I never miss anything. I got every last piece. So you illegally rearranged the crime scene? Yes. I don't have any excuse for my actions. I'm so sorry, Mama. I didn't know. I've treated you so badly all this time. It's not too late. There's still plenty of time to make up. After we've gotten to the bottom of this incident. No doubt this day will leave a permanent stain on the history of the prosecutor's office. more contradictions have surfaced in her testimony. Your sister's really putting up a fight. She must really care about you. Still, she's not doing this the right way. I think I finally figured out the contradictions in her testimony. There's one final possibility that might turn everything around.
Objection!
Miss Guy, I believe this jar conceals a truth even you were unaware of. What? We found the final piece of this jar in Chief Gant's office, in Chief Gant's safe. In the chief's safe? How? I knew it. She really didn't know. There's something even more disturbing about that final piece. There was still blood on it, but the witness just testified that she gathered every last piece and wiped the blood off of them. Yes, which leaves us with only one explanation. When the night Prosecutor Marshall was murdered, you were not the first one to show up on the scene. Chief Gant got there before you. But couldn't the defendant have simply missed a piece?
Objection!
I'm afraid that's unlikely. The pieces are too big for anyone to miss, let alone an ace detective. It may well be, but everyone makes mistakes. Even I once wasted an entire day looking for my dentures. They were in my mouth all along. Ha! Can you believe that? Have you forgotten, Your Honor? When this witness arrived at the scene, the jar was already broken. Oh, that. There's no way a name could have been written on a shattered jar. Another person discovered this scene prior to their witness. Hope you're not implying this person was Chief Gant. At the time, he was looking for Dark downstairs. Besides, even if he was there first, why would he break this jar? The question is, if he did arrive there first, why did he hide the fact for 2 years? Well, Your Honor, can you answer us that? Yeah. No! Wait, I'm not the one on trial here. Then again arrived at the crime scene prior to the witness. He proceeded to break the jar. And purposefully hid one of the broken pieces. Question: what is this action called? Fabrication of evidence. Well, why would you can't do that? In light of what happened afterwards, isn't it clear? What happened afterwards? Discovering the scene, Lana Skye believed her sister Emma killed the victim. Determined to help her sister, she sought Gant's aid. Lending her his aid, Gant helped her create evidence that incriminated Dark, sparing Emma. And therein lies the reason. The reason why Miss Skye became the chief's puppet. No, I did it all on my own. Please, sis, stop trying to protect the chief. I can't watch you suffer anymore for my sake. No, you didn't. It wasn't you, Emma. You didn't kill anyone. Don't believe anything Mr. Wright says. Defense attorneys make up the most foul lies to defend their clients. Foul lies? Imagine that coming from my own client. I guess you do seem the type who likes to twist the truth. Wait a minute. What if, Marvel's what if, we're still smack dab in the middle of Gant's trap? Is something wrong, Mr. Wright? Lana may be right. Lana may be right after all. What do you mean, Wright? So you do tell foul lies then, Mr. Wright? Miss Scott, please testify once more. But if evidence was fabricated behind your back, then Emma's accidental killing of Prosecutor Marshall might also be a lie. But I do remember knocking over Mr. Marshall. Miss Scott, if you will. I can't. There's nothing to be afraid of anymore. This cross-examination may not change a thing. However, there is a possibility that it will, if you tell the truth. Very well. I'll testify about what I really saw. All right. The witness may testify once more for the final time. When I arrived, I found Mr. Marshall's body impaled on that suit of armor sword. Emma and Dark were lying unconscious on the floor nearby. When I saw what had happened, I thought she did it. That's why I erased all the evidence that linked her to the murder. I had Chief Gant help me remove the body from the sword and carry it. But if it all really was fabrication, Emma might be innocent. Unbelievable. The body was impaled on the armor sword. You were the only one who saw that. If only you had proof. Actually, I do have proof. I gave it to Mr. Wright just this morning. What? To me? It was a picture I took of the crime scene as I encountered it. I thought it might be needed. But I don't remember receiving a picture like that. Lana must have known. See, Mr. Wright, she really does have faith in you. Very well, Mr. Wright, please present this picture. I don't remember receiving any pictures from Lana. Lana said she gave it to you this morning, right? I seem to remember getting something from her then. Let's check the evidence again. There must be a picture in there somewhere. Yeah, it's the little book thing. Just gave me this. Hey, there's a picture here. Dun, dun, dun. Oh my. This is the actual crime scene. No other detective saw the crime scene like this, because I contacted Criminal Affairs only after I had rearranged everything. Mr. Wright, that piece cut from his chest, could that be? The cloth was found inside Chief Gant's safe. What's this? That cloth, it had fingerprints on it. Whoever fingerprints those are must be the real murderer. What? But those fingerprints, they're yours, Emma. Why are your lips turning all purple, Mr. Wright? Anyway, let's get on with the cross-examination. So long as you tell the truth, we should be able to flesh out the real murderer. Very well, the defense may now begin its cross-examination. But I think we're reaching a culmination soon. Come now, Uji. This is the poorest excuse for a trial I ever see. Gee, get what? Now you want me to make me out as the bad guy too? If so, I'd like to put it in a word or two in my defense.
Objection!
I'm afraid it's too late for that. What? You already declined to testify. That means you forfeited your right to make statements of any sort. This must be that risk we were talking about earlier. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the sound of the noose tightening around your own neck. Boom! Take that! Eat it, bitch! I'm getting electrocuted. So what? You think I'm worried? Sorry to disappoint you, but I don't need to make any statements. What do you mean? The evidence will do all the talking for me. Even if I can't testify, I can still present evidence. Yes, that's true. Wait, you mean you still have some conclusive evidence? No, I don't, but someone does. Someone? So, what's your excuse, Wrighto? Why have you been keeping quiet about it? You do have something to show us, right? Something that proves who knocked over Neil Marshall, causing his death. Conclusive evidence that leaves no room for doubt. Is this true, Mr. Wright? If I show the piece of evidence now, I'm sure to be made out as a murderer. Mr. Wright, if you have any more evidence, present it now. And if you try to conceal anything, you will be the one appearing before the Board of Inquiries. What do I do now? Better think this through carefully. Can't afford to make the wrong decision. Should I present the piece of evidence? The one that shows who really killed Prosecutor Marshall? Probably gonna have to show it, man. I'm probably gonna have to show the evidence. Okay, just double checking. Turns out, yeah, cannot show evidence, but there's a plan behind it, so. Your Honor, I don't have any evidence that I can present at this point in time. What? You lie! Chief Gant, you opened my safe. I know you took what was inside. The conclusive evidence. I don't know what you're talking about. Mr. Wright, why don't you show them? You found it together. Oh, I see. It's because you know the truth, don't you? You know whose fingerprints are on it. That's why you won't present it. What are you talking about, Chief Gant? Can't you figure it out? Take a good look at this picture. See the victim's vest? Notice anything odd about the chest area? It looks like part of it's been cut out for some reason. You mean you had this in your safe? What? That means you, the chief of police, have been concealing evidence. This is going to be the biggest scandal in the history of the police department. Impressive. Most impressive. To be honest, I didn't think you had the gall, Wrighto. Well, I can't just let you pin me up as the murderer. I'll tell you what really happened. What? You mean admit to it? You can't testify. I was the first person to arrive at the crime scene that day. It then occurred to me that I could use the situation to control Lana. So you really were manipulating her. I knew Lana. If I made it look like the blame lay with her sister, that when she saw the scene, she would ask for my aid. So you assisted Miss Sky. I told her to arrange all the evidence. I had her plant the knife tip in the victim's body and move the body across the room. And I ended up using that evidence to get Joe Dark convicted. When I tampered with the crime scene, I hid 2 pieces of evidence. This was before Lana arrived at the scene, mind you. 2 pieces of evidence? You mean those items in your safe? But why? For insurance, of course. Insurance? I was sure my plan would work, but it's always best to be prepared for the worst. I wasn't about to let anyone blame me for a murder that girl committed. You mean you were calculating that far ahead while forging evidence? What do you take me for, a fool? I didn't make police chief by dumb luck. See this jar fragment? I hid the most valuable part of Emma's name. I didn't expect Lana to go and wipe the blood off all the pieces. But if you fabricated all the evidence, what's to say you didn't fabricate the messes on this jar too? Oh ho ho. Some people just don't know when to quit, do they? That's why I kept one more item for insurance. You mean that piece of cloth? Come on, Righto, cough it up already. I know you haven't. What are you waiting for, Mr. Wright? So you admitted to it then, Chief Gant, that you were hiding the cloth you cut off the victim's chest in your safe. Yes, I admit it. I didn't want to have to do that, being chief and all. But it's a lot better than being portrayed as a murderer. Well, Mr. Wright, what do you have to say for yourself? Just a moment ago, you said you didn't have any evidence you could present. Foolish move, Frecho. You should have shown it then before it was too late. It's been a long battle, but the moment of truth has finally arrived. As long as I don't mess up here, victory isn't mine. Pretty sure you can show the evidence now. One second. Your Honor, I do have evidence to present now. The evidence that shows who actually murdered Prosecutor Marshall.
Take that!
Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest. Oh yes, at last you finally brought it out into the open. There's a handprint on this piece of cloth. Your Honor, the prosecution requests that be immediately sent to the lab for analysis. This handprint on the leather. There must have been a strong impact for it to be left so clearly. You mean, it could not have been forged. It must be authentic, conclusive evidence. Oh ho ho, you're as slow on the outtake as Etherworthy. What? Think about it. Righto had all this time to present this evidence. was reluctant to do so. Why would that be? You mean you already know? You know whose fingerprints are on that? Mr. Wright, do you really know? Whoever the fingerprints belong to must be the real murderer. Whose fingerprints are they? Very well, I'll tell you. It should be okay now. Everything is proceeding as predicted. The person to whom these fingerprints belong to is...
Take that!
Emma Sky? What? They're mine? I'm sorry, Emma. But why? Why didn't you tell me? Ho. You're really something, Wright. You know this girl did it all along, and you still tried to pin the murder on me. So it's true. Tragic, but true. This girl really did shove Prosecutor Marshall to his death. Hold it, how could you? You monster! The Sky. You know whose fingerprints those were all along, yet you acted like she really didn't? The Sky. It's not over yet. What? I said this trial isn't over yet. But I'm afraid it is over, boy. Not only this trial, but your career too. You purposely concealed this conclusive evidence. That, my friend, is a serious offense. I'm looking forward to pressing charges after the defendant is convicted. I'll have your badge, boy. What's the matter? Cat got your tongue? Aren't you going to tell us how it feels? How it feels to be the one who single-handedly turned a poor little girl into a murderer? Before I do that, there's just one little thing I have to clear up. Oh, and what's that? Who really killed Prosecutor Neil Marshall? What? Chief Gant, you are absolutely right. This piece of cloth proves who the real murderer is. Who killed Neil Marshall, you ask? It was Emma Sky, wasn't it? I'm afraid that's not possible. You see, this piece of cloth contains a critical contradiction. What? A contradiction? What is this fool babbling about? I'm talking about contradiction, one that proves who the real killer is. Mr. Wright, this piece of cloth, what could it possibly contradict? Chief Gant, your tyrannical reign ends here. Behold, the piece of evidence that contradicts this cloth. I'm kind of clueless.
Take that!
And where exactly is this supposed to be? This is a picture Miss Sky took. Take a good look at it. See where the piece of his vest was cut out? Yes, his shirt is showing underneath. It's hard to make out with all the blood on his vest though. Exactly my point. His chest is soaked with blood. That's only natural. His lungs no doubt were punctured. Blood poured out over his mouth. Oh, but that piece of cloth. Wait, there's no blood on it. Yeah. Since Emma Sky's fingerprints are on this cloth, there's no doubt that she shoved the prosecutor aside. However, Mr. Marshall was not impaled on the sword at that time. No, this is nonsense. Now then, Chief Gant, let me ask you something. Prosecutor Marshall was not impaled when he was shoved aside. He must likely hit his head on the ground and was knocked out. If so, then tell me, Who could it have been? Who could have arrived at the scene before Ms. Lana Scott, picked up the unconscious prosecutor, and impaled him on the armorer's sword? Yeah. Then to make it look like Emma was responsible for a prosecutor's death. Said person proceeded to write her name on the jar with the victim's blood. A jar that they then broke on purpose to leave behind a clue. And make Lana believe her sister did it. Remember what you admitted only moments ago? That you personally cut out this bloodless piece of the victim's vest. Ironic, isn't it? Through the very act of creating insurance, you proved that you were the actual murderer. Boom! Eat it, bitch! It's finally all over. Objection! Yeah. That was close, Righto. You almost had me. Sorry, but you'll have to do better than that. I refute your allegations. What do you mean you refute his allegations? You see, that piece of cloth is illegal evidence. What nonsense is this? Illegal evidence cannot be used to convict a suspect. Remember, OG? Earlier, old Wright here concealed that piece of cloth. Well, that's true. The defense did refuse to present evidence. At that moment, that piece of cloth ceased to be legal evidence. But that's not fair. Ho 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 ho. Did you actually think you could this? Did you actually think you could best me in court? It looks like the last laugh is on you, son. I'm afraid Mr. Dent's claim is legally correct. Well, Mr. Edgeworth, true. Illegal evidence cannot be used to convict a person, assuming, of course, that the evidence is indeed illegal. Well, Mr. Wright? It seems, at last, the time for me to reveal my plan has finally arrived. Mr. Wright, you admit it? That you purposely and illegally concealed this piece of cloth? I admit I refused to present it at one point. Aha! So the evidence is illegal.
Objection!
No, it isn't, Mr. Gant. Huh? It's not that I didn't present evidence then. It's that I couldn't. What do you mean you couldn't? There are certain procedures involved when presenting evidence. No, Uwe, don't listen to his lies. He's nothing but a coward. He can't but really believe. There is only one issue left to be resolved in this trial. Is this evidence legal or not? Very well, let us settle this once and for all. Earlier, you refused to present evidence. If you can prove your conduct was not in violation of the law, then do so now. This is my proof, Your Honor. Evidence law. What's this? I've done my homework too, Chief. Indeed, Emma Sky's fingerprints were on this piece of cloth. However, at that point in time, this was merely a piece of cloth, nothing more. What? You see, it's written right here in this book, the second rule of evidence law. Rule 1. No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. I found this piece of evidence myself, inside your safe. It goes without saying I did not have approval from the police department. Rule 2. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. And here is the crux of the matter. You see, at the time it was impossible for me to prove the relevance between the cloth and the SO9 incident. What kind of nonsense is this? You want relevancy? Just take a look at this picture and... Sorry, but you can't recall when was that picture presented. That was shown only a few moments ago. No, he's right. At the beginning of today's trial, that piece of cloth was still meaningless. The person who gave it value as evidence was you, Damon Gant. You yourself confessed to a certain truth. He hung himself, like Edward said. These lawyers are slick. Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest. No! It was then that you approved this cloth as conclusive evidence. Yes, you, the chief of police, personally approved this cloth. The only person who could have cut this from the victim's vest is the one who stood before Prosecutor Marshall in his final moments. In other words, the real murderer, and there is only one person who that could be. Damon Gant. The killer was you. I knew I could. I knew I should have gotten rid of him. That good-for-nothing scum. For 2 years, he's been snooping around the department trying to get something on me. Crimes are being committed every day, yet he insisted on hounding me. Well, your crime wasn't exactly petty. He wanted to reinvestigate the case. He recruited Angel Starr, then convinced Bruce Goodman. Detective Goodman? Yeah, that's right. If the Marshall evidence is transferred, I'll lose my only chance to find out the truth. Please, you've got to help me. Goodman turned him down, as he ought to. Still, Jake Marshall didn't know when to quit. He stole Goodman's ID card and tried to take the evidence. Goodman came to me that day. He wanted to file a lost items report. I went with him to the evidence room. Then all of a sudden he decided to speak out. What are you talking about, Goodman? Can you please reopen the investigation, Chief? We can't transfer the evidence out. There are too many questions left unanswered. He opened his evidence locker and as he was taking the evidence out, he said, "It's not too late. I'm going to hand all of this over to Marshall." Well, to be honest, I was a bit taken aback by his words. I had a bad feeling when he came to see me, but I never thought he'd bring up SO9. That's when I saw it, that accursed knife. I couldn't just pull it out. Doing so would have only led to more blood, making it near impossible to hide your crime. Even so, the blood was just pouring out. I didn't know who might stumble in, so I hurried to wipe it up. I was worrying so much about the floor, I didn't realize my fatal mistake. The bloody handprint. Detective Gumshoe's locker. I used to be known as the crime computer. But everyone has to start somewhere, I guess. I was too nervous. I had no business doing any of it. And you put the body in my car. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of any other way to move the body. I broke your trunk, but what's the big deal? You make a lot more than us detectives ever will. Leaving the prosecution's car aside. How? How could you get Miss Sky involved in all of this? Well, she had as much to lose as I did if the truth came out. So you took the evidence from Detective Goodman's locker. I felt bad for having to do it. I also didn't have the time to pick and choose what to take. So, you left the jar fragments and the glove. Yeah. It looks like I was better off being an investigator of crimes than a committer. They all did their best to get in my way. I've got to hand it to them. They do their jobs well, much to my dismay. Fake evidence doesn't hold up very well upon close examination. You must have known that. Tell me, Worthy, why do you stand in court? Me? You despise criminals. I can feel it. You and me, we're the same. One day you'll understand. Oh, believe me, you will. You're just one man. You'll see what it really takes to bring them down once you try to do it alone. Well, looks like it's time to say goodbye. Oh, Uji. What? Looks like we'll have to cancel that lunch date. Sorry, old friend. I'm sorry too, David Gant. I knew you as you used to be long ago. You were once a fine investigator, an example to others on the force. I'm sorry to learn that you are no longer that person. Those days are gone now, Uji. Thanks for all the memories now. Don't worry, you'll be fine. Now you have Wright here. And Worthy. With these two around, you can't go wrong. In fact, I can hear them already. The melodious sounds of a new age? There are two things I want you to understand. Yes, first, your sister never hurt anyone. Second, the only game betrayed you from the beginning. You see, Miss Sky, you no longer have any reason to keep silent. You're right. When this trial is over, I'll tell everything. All that I've done these past 2 years, from the time I had Gant help me forge evidence up until today. So, it seems all the questions raised in this trial have been answered. I'm sorry, Miss Sky. Couldn't get you out of all your trouble. What high standards you have for a rookie. I can see why Mia thought so highly of you. Who knows, a few years from now, you just might make it to the top. I owe you my thanks, Mr. Wright. Miss Sky? He's smiling. And to you, Mr. Edgeworth. You've suffered every bit as much as I have over these past few years. Believe me, I know how much of an ordeal it's been for you. It was nothing. Liar. I was worried the pressure might break you. I will break you. And yet, You rose above it all and guided Mr. Wright to victory. You've done well, Mr. Edgeworth. Guided me? What the fuck? Stop it. Only did my job. In light of this case, it seems a good self-examination is in order for all of us. Miss Skye, yes, Your Honor, you are innocent of murder. However, although the chief blackmailed you, the fact is you still acted as his accomplice. The trial will be scheduled for these crimes at a later date. Yes, I understand, Your Honor. Is there something amusing about all this? Why are you smiling? It's been a long time, Your Honor. A long time since I felt free of this heavy chains. It's kind of the first time I experienced where, like, my client is innocent, but she will be guilty at the same time. Well, this trial has gone on far too long already. Tell me about it. Regarding the charge of murder, this court finds the defendant, Miss Lana Skye. This court is adjourned. Okay. At long last, it's finally over. Emma? Why the long face? I'm sorry your sister didn't get completely off the hook, but at least she wasn't convicted for a murder she didn't commit. No, that's not it. Just now, after the trial ended, you know, I did my best too, but Lana didn't say a single word to me. Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Oh, yes I am. I'll come back later. Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Making a detective run all around while on duty. At the top of all off, you call me here. I've seen happier people at funerals. Hey, lighten up, pals. I'm only kidding. Oh, are you here because of my sister again? Nope, not this time. I came today because of you, pal. Me? That's right. I thought you'd like to see someone. Should you be doing this? She's still under arrest, you know. Well, I won't tell if you won't. Emma, I owe you an apology. It's okay, sis. Don't worry about it. That day 2 years ago was the first time in my life I ever panicked. It was all I could do to keep myself from screaming. All I could think about was keeping you from getting wrapped up in that mess. Sis, I asked Gant to help me cover up the truth. I thought I was doing it for your sake. But now I realize I was wrong. I changed after that day. I had to. It was the only way I could make it through the past 2 years. I knew how much I was hurting you by distancing myself, but I couldn't bring myself to tell you what I did. I was scared. Scared that you'd look at me with those eyes of yours. I was scared of how you'd react if you knew. But sis, you were only doing it for me. No. Huh? I turned my back on you that day, and hiding what I believed to be the truth. I was deceiving you. Sis, I'm such a fool. It took me all this time to realize it. Emma, I'm so sorry. But sis, you don't have to apologize. I'm happy now. You're happy? Of course. You know, sis, I always knew that one day you'd come back, and now you have. Oh, Emma. No one can change the past. The only thing we can do is strive to make up for our mistakes. How must we make up for our mistakes, you ask? Because in so doing, we can find the way back to our rightful path. And it's from there that we can move on toward a brighter future. At least that's what I felt watching two sisters make up. Mr. Wright? Mr. Gumshoe? Me? Thank you both for all that you've done. I'm sure we'll meet again someday. Isn't that right, Edgeworth? Edgeworth? Stop hiding and come over here. Where was he hiding? I just came to say, congratulations. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Edgeworth. Right, well, I'll be going now. Mr. Edgeworth, I hope you don't blame yourself for what happened. We were the ones who acted corruptly, not you. It's too late for me. No matter what anyone may say, I realized today that I can't correct my mistakes. Mr. Edgeworth? Not only that, but I don't even trust myself anymore. Chief Gan was right. I do despise criminals. I plan to dedicate my entire life to fighting them. But in order to fight crime on my own, I need a weapon. It's scary, but I've known that to be true for quite some time now. But Edgeworth, who knows? Given enough time, I might have tried to pull something like Chief Gan did. That thought terrifies me. That's why I can't continue on as a prosecutor. Edgeworth, don't you understand? Damon Gan and your mentor, Manfred von Karma, were both the best of the best when it came to fighting crime. But they both made the same mistake. You said, in order to fight crime on my own, I need a weapon. That may be true, but think back to today's trial. You weren't alone. You were working together with Mr. Wright. And because of that partnership, you were able to present evidence that otherwise would have gone undiscovered. Isn't that right, Mr. Wright? Huh? What? Yeah. What is this, a pop quiz? Come on, Mr. Wright, show him what Lana's talking about. Evidence, huh? Something that needed Ezra and I could have been able to find on our own? What's that little book? That's the picture I drew. Our counterattack began with this. You have one half of the evidence list, and I have the other half. And I had the other. Apart, we wouldn't have been able to completely restore Emma's picture. That didn't just happen by chance, Mr. Edgeworth. It's time for me to go. Mr. Edgeworth, if you'll excuse me, there are still some loose ends that need wrapping up. Take care, Chief Prosecutor. Edgeworth, what will you do now? Well, whatever you do, just remember, you can let what happened kill the prosecutor in you, or you can let it help you grow. In the end, it's up to you. I know, it seems I owe you my thanks too, Wright. But what I face now is my problem. Edgeworth, I'll be waiting for you in court. Farewell. be going too. Okay, I'll be by to visit soon. Since we both have a lot to learn and catching up to do. Here, this is a little something for you. Where should we hide these books? Scientific investigation? It's the first book I ever acquired. Study it well. Thanks, sis. I will. And so, another case came to a close. As for the sisters, I have faith. Felt like a Hallmark Christmas moment. Faith that their lives have only just begun. Speaking of which, I'm looking forward to like the next round of Hallmark Lifetime Christmas movies that I want to do for movie reviews this November and December. And as for me, I think it's time I started on a new journey of my own. A journey to rediscover myself. Well, don't go trekking off just yet, pal. Huh? What is it, detective? There's just a little matter to be resolved about the chief prosecutor. You see, she isn't supposed to be out of jail like this. What? I thought you said it was okay. Yeah, well, it may be okay with me, but the folks at the prison are a different story. Huh? Basically, I had to bribe a guard in order to sneak her out for 30 minutes. Believe me, it wasn't cheap either. Huh? Way to go, detective. I didn't know you had a wild side. Yeah, well, you see, Mr. Wright here is the one who will be footing the bill. Huh? What, you think I could afford it with my salary? You ought to be kidding me, pal. Huh? Thank you, Mr. Wright, you're the best. Why is it? I suddenly feel like I want to scream. Hey, I got an idea. Why don't we all go pay it off together? Yeah, that's a great idea. You don't have any freaking money, little girl. Come on, guys, let's go.
Objection!
Okay, what's all this? Wait, don't tell me, was this all the story in this entire game? See, I hate it when they don't let you skip the credits, like you want to read all this stuff. Well, we want to write it out, so enjoy. Let's take a minute while I go check my phone. Excuse me. Looks like there's after epilogue, after credit, something or other. I gotta rotate this crap. Oh wow, I guess it was only 5 cases. Did not know that. Let me check. Why can't I just get the information? Yeah, that's it. Well, I guess there's no coming back to Phoenix Wright. So yeah, this is sorry it took extra time, but yeah, this is it. I can't believe it took a whole entire year because I didn't bother to check because I thought Trilogy is like what I thought it was like some a few games combined. That's why they call it a trilogy. It has like more cases. There was a 3 Phoenix Wright games put together with each had like a set number of cases between them. It was only 5, so I spent an entire year without completing this. So this is like final Phoenix Wright. But it was fun. It was nice. But anywho, I'll see if I can stream somewhat tomorrow. I still gotta continue on with God of War. Then continue on learning more of the Batman tutorial and multiverses. Yeah, but anywho, thank you all for joining me. I will see you guys tomorrow. Look forward to more movie, TV show, and comic reviews for the channel. Once again, it's going to be a lot of Iron Man stuff in the coming weeks, so look forward to that. Anywho, take care, be safe, and give us a like, click that bell, and be great support for the channel and for you guys. And follow me on Twitch. Once again, twitch.tv/talkofthecarl. I stream almost every evening, but follow me on Twitter. You'll know when I'm popping up live, so you can join me live. Take care. See you later.